this big building and then these walls that are up. We want people to come in. Just are finishing this great project with the city, a new entrance kiosk, which really just changes the museum in a radical way. Where now on Jackson Avenue you can come in, and I think that is going to be a big driver. Another city project that we're doing that maybe isn't such a sexy project, but is really integral, is this HVAC, a climate control project that just began this week. And I think that's another way that I think that's going to help with funding for exhibitions. We're going to have different kinds of exhibitions than we've had in the past, where we can actually have works that maybe are in the past we haven't been able to put up because now we have climate control. I think we just need to be as innovative as possible, and really, I think this grassroots approach, whether it's social media or just letting you all know what's there right now. We have this great exhibition called September 11th going on right now. It's an exhibition about September 11th, but it's also not about it. Most of the artwork was made prior to 2001. But it feels like, and I hope all of you get a chance to see it, it's up until the beginning of January. You will come in and you'll see these great artworks from all over. It's a big, lone show. And it really makes you think, because you'll see images that you think are about September 11th, but they were made before that. And I think that's another way to really reach different communities. And that's really a focus of mine. How many different communities can we reach? We want to go beyond, say, the art lover. We want people from Queens to come. I think in my short time there, I think PS1 had been known as a place where a lot of artists from Europe had their first shows, and they don't really think of where PS1 is. It's in Long Island City. I think it's important for me and the rest of the museum, for Klaus Wiesenbach, the director. We want to make Long Island City a more important part about the museum.
Great. Well, first of all, what you're experiencing today, the expansion of the museum, is a result of this kind of thinking. How do we bring more people to the area as well as the museum? We felt that there has to be more here to justify someone's decision to come and spend a good amount of their time here. And certainly, not only has our visitorship doubled and sometimes more, as can be seen when the fire alarm goes off, which I'll pretend was intentional so that we could show off our extremely sophisticated security system. But also that those who do come are spending a longer amount of time here, and they feel like they need to come back. They want to come back. Our audience prior to the expansion was somewhat transient. They would come for a film. They wouldn't necessarily explore the galleries. So part of our planning process was that we really looked at what would it take to really be a destination unto itself, which is contradictory to this idea of spending time working with colleagues to make the area a destination and not worrying as much about justifying the trip to one institution, but trying to justify the trip to the neighborhood. We have some real challenges there, because though we are perhaps referring to a naturally occurring cultural district rooted in the rich industrial history of the neighborhood, and I think, by the way, I think all of us are occupying buildings that were at some time before used for something entirely different, whether it's a school, or an artist studio, or a grocery store, or a movie studio. I think it is a challenge, and I think we felt we need to work in phase one of just turning the museum into a place that not only do people visit, but more people are aware of or have heard of. And in my travels, I find that since the expansion, people will say, "Oh yeah, the Museum of the Moving Image, I heard of that, I'd like to go there." That's a reserve of potential visitors that ultimately funnel into the institution that we didn't have before, and allows us to create a certain demand that we wouldn't otherwise be able to create. I think the universality of our subject is really important, that we're able to have programming that attracts both a local and non-local audience to the same programs. If you want to see Lawrence of Arabia in a few weeks, you're in luck, because we're having a series called See It Big, which is all about the big screen film. It doesn't have to be a targeted program for a specific audience, but you scratch the surface, and beneath that, you see that we actually do have very segmented audiences, because our subject, in a way, the entire world and its diversity is refracted through film and media. We make sure to have programs that attract specific audiences, like the New York City Greek Film Festival this weekend, which we're doing in partnership with the festival. So since we opened, phase 2 of the expansion is perhaps more conceptual. One is to be working more closely with connected organizations in the area and taking advantage of this tremendous facility, but also of the audiences that these collaborating institutions already have. And working out collaborations and partnerships in a systematic way, which we never did before. It was all very seat of the pants, and sometimes still is, but we're getting there. And the second, of course, is to recognize that rich industrial history and the historic significance of this particular area, which I don't think we did as good a job at before as we can do, which is why the heck are you in Astoria? There's this movie studio across the street. Well, now we're collaborating much more closely with the studio, not just to brand the area as one that has historical significance. After all, we were Building 13 in a movie studio complex that opened in the 1920s. But it is a fully functioning, vibrant media and arts production center today. Right now there's a huge Hollywood film in the studio that we're not allowed to talk about. And they may be in the building. And so the studio's demapping of the street and creation of a kind of studio law environment plays very well into how we see the branding of the area that brings back some of the glamour that people associate with the movies that I don't feel that we had before the expansion. And it's more than, in my opinion, it's worth it for the city to lose the street as a public street on the map in order for the city to gain this very exciting, I don't know what to call it yet, Astoria Studios neighborhood. So we're recognizing now that we're part of a larger campus, so that when we thrive, they thrive, and we have a sort of clothesline on which to hang all of our activities.
May I just add to that very quickly? I mean, I think, speaking to what everybody just mentioned, I think the Long Island City Cultural Alliance serves as a way of gelling some of what we all do activities-wise. I think in terms of connectivity, you know, we work together, we call each other up, and we're like trying to decide on events that might coincide together. And, you know, we develop a way of networking so that we can present to our audiences, to our community, what's happening in Long Island City. And we just are very interested in looking at other businesses too. Right now, the guide that we put out is including primarily restaurants, but that's, you know, something that is very crucial to the experience of coming to Long Island City. So we recognize that. So what else can we do? That's the next thing, I think.
If I could also, the average visit to a cultural institution is 2 hours, right? So you have to have 2 hours worth of stuff to do. And you either do it like you're doing, like we're doing. We're saying, okay, if you're coming to us, you have to be able to spend 2 hours in the museum. We really haven't had that until now. So the choice, you guys sitting there, am I going to go to the Museum of Modern Art, or how am I going to spend my afternoon? You go to the Queens Museum. In the future, you're going to have enough permanent collection, the panorama, the temporary exhibitions, the cafe, the bookstore, to make up the 2 hour experiences. What you're doing and what you're talking about is a collective 2 hour, 3 hour experience in Long Island City.
Yeah, you do have to have one or the other, and I commend you on, as I drive on the Grand Central and point out the Queens Museum to my children, you know, you need the what the hell is that factor, which is you see it, you don't know what it is, and that's why investment in architecture is actually quite
well. I mean, Alan Suna, Silver Cup Studios, everybody knows where it is. You may not have been there, but the value of that sign has been why he's been hammering into our heads constantly. That must be an indicator that the museum is there and a major aspect of our museum.
And the preservation of that Long Island City sign on the water certainly, you know, you need these icons that you can identify with a neighborhood. And I look forward to working with, as we are an associate in LICA, in really coordinating efforts that we're already doing. Perhaps it's not that people are expected to come and visit all of these institutions in a day, but perhaps we can offer, let's say, some kind of a document that says, come back to Long Island City and go to these other places, and maybe there's a discount or some amenity that we can offer.
So let's explore
Taking
that.
ideas.
So let's explore that theme a little bit further. Everyone recognizes the importance of arts institutions to our economic development as an area. Restaurants and tourist-related businesses see the benefit of your presence most clearly. What would you say are other ways that your organizations enhance economic activity in the borough, and where do you see as possible future partnerships where you can develop new collaborations with business that perhaps don't exist so much right now?
I think for Noguchi and this northern end of Long Island City, probably a better infrastructure. Transportation is key. Getting people to our doors has been quite a bit of a challenge. And yeah, we look to the city to help us with, you know, better bus service, for instance. I think, you know, those challenges are going to make things a little easier. I think a lot of